To better understand why I'm not a big fan of diet as and calorie restriction as a way of burning fat or consuming stored fat, I have here things split in half, or split where on the left-hand side we have the digested and generally available nutrients that are in the blood, and on the right-hand side we have them stored. So glycogen, one thing to mention about it is that the liver releases sugar back into the bloodstream when blood sugar is low, but muscle only takes sugar out of the bloodstream. It keeps all that sugar for itself. Evidently, we have stored fat and we have muscle protein where if we're low in amino acids, we can catabolize protein to use elsewhere. So the thing about the diet approach is that it's predicated on the idea that if we're low on fat, that we're going to consume it, what's in storage. And unfortunately, that's just not the way the body works. So on the one hand, we've seen how we'll convert sugar to fat, especially when there's a surplus. We'll also prioritize sugar over fat when we burn it, when there's a surplus of sugar. But in general, our true energy source is ATP, and we burn sugar and fat to generate ATP. Well, if there's very little fat, then we'll just be burning sugar. So the thing that happens is that regardless of whether or not a lot of fat was generated from there being a spike in sugar, the the two energy sources we have are sugar and fat, and if you're taking a very small amount of calories, then they just get consumed. And the body does not end up releasing fat in a significant fashion, and instead it just reduces activity, and it shuts down some processes that would have been occurring otherwise, and in particular, it just gives you constant reminders at that point of how your body wants you to go out and get food. That being said, there is one diet-based approach that does work, and it's the one that's focused on the production of ketones. So if your body is in an extremely low sugar state for 1 or 2 weeks, at a certain point, it's going to switch and basically open up that fat valve, and it'll start turning fat into ketones. So ketones are fat that's water soluble and that therefore is able to pass the blood-brain barrier. So finally, at that point, your brain is able to get some of its calories from the ketones, and your body is basically consuming a lot of its fat. So it's an approach that works well, that does burn quite a bit of fat, but unfortunately, it's extremely unpleasant. It's worse than any starvation-based diet. Because 24/7 your mind is in a low sugar state, and that's really difficult. In any case, if you are interested in this diet, the South Beach diet, which is broken up into a number of sections. The first part is an introduction of the thoughts behind it, and then after that, they have phase 1, 2, and 3. And so phase 1 is this ketone-focused approach that is just like the Atkins diet, except that the Atkins diet reaches this ketones state in a not very healthy fashion, and that it's focused basically on you eating only meat and fat until finally you switch over to sugar. You don't need to be eating animal fat, and you don't need to be eating as much protein as that in order to reach this state. You can get there in a way that's healthier for your heart. And so the South Beach diet was written by a cardiologist. It's not surprising that he presents an approach and a diet that's a little bit healthier. But really, don't underestimate how difficult it is to make it through this kind of regimen. And if you have a lot of weight to lose, then you're talking about quite a few weeks that you have to spend in this kind of state. But it works. So another way to lose weight, evidently, is through exercise. So optimally, if you're trying to lose weight through exercise, you should be targeting low to medium intensity sustained exercise. So things like brisk walking, elliptical runners, and so on. Keep in mind that the longer and the more frequent the pauses, the more sugar you're burning, the more sustained the activity, the more fat you're burning. And if you get into the high intensity zone, you also again start burning a little bit more sugar than fat. Although there are some other advantages to going to high intensity, as we'll see in a bit. But in particular, never mind those hour-long ab classes. You don't get a six-pack from having big muscles in your stomach. You get a six-pack from having very little fat between your skin and stomach muscles. And I think that these ab classes are an example of how we like to kind of conceptualize things, where it kind of makes sense that if you're using your ab muscles, that you would think that you're going to be consuming more fat from your stomach, but no, your fat consumption is spread throughout all of the fat tissues you have in your body. So thinking that exercising in one targeted area is going to burn fat in that one area, I haven't seen any studies that really show that this works. And in any case, the greater problem is just that those ab classes are not fat burning. They're more of a muscle strengthening and muscle stress exercise like weightlifting. So if you want to bring it up a notch, you might want to consider exercising in heat, or exercising at least in such a way that you end up sweating a lot. And so ask any boxer or other athlete that has to compete in these really narrow weight classes. It's very, very difficult to make weight in the winter, and boxers will run in these really nasty plastic suits in order to make weight, and it works. So it's the difference between either spending calories and energy only on the muscle contraction, or spending all those calories on the muscle contraction and then spending the whole set more on cooling yourself down. And it doesn't really make the workout really all that much harder when you get hot. That being said, if you're not used to sweating, it might itch a little bit at first. When I'm in really, really bad shape, if I haven't worked out and had a good sweat in months, the first time it might itch a little bit, but it goes away in just a few minutes, and it actually doesn't come back the next workout. So don't let that stop you. And also, if you're grossed out by sweat, get over it, because really fresh sweat is clean. And but that being said, be really careful with this. Start gently. Don't target the hardest possible workout when you're out of shape, and be safe. This can be dangerous. Don't go run in the desert. Don't work out alone. But think about this, because you do want to try to get the most out of your workout, and especially when you're actually overweight and you're anxious to see results, targeting the right kind of workout can make a big difference.